Hey y'all, welcome to Life on Goldman Road. I am sort of surprised and a little excited. Our garden is starting to produce. We finally got a mess of squash, so I'm excited because we're going to do something with that today. But I really didn't know how it was going to turn out because we put down the weed fiber paper and that was a struggle. Keeping it down was a struggle, and it's the first time planting in this spot, so I didn't really know the soil content and how everything would do. But the squash is doing beautifully. I have shown you pictures of our garden. I'll kind of show you another little walkthrough or the walkthrough that we did together. I am also finding little bitty cantaloupes on our plants. Our banana pepper is producing. Our okra looks fabulous. Our onions, however, have not done wonderfully, and the tops are starting to die. I don't know if the soil is too rich or not rich enough. First time ever to grow onions. So my mom got a couple the other day because she said once the tops die, that's it. So they're about that big. So they're not big at all. And she said she figured they were going to be hot as fire. I don't even remember what kind of onion we planted. Maybe Clarence can, I'm not sure. But she got a couple of those onions for supper the other night. She said those were the sweetest and juiciest onion she had had in a very, very long time. So my mama being my mama, had an onion and biscuit sandwich. That's how much she loves onions. But she finished up an onion today with her lunch. And so this afternoon, while I was getting squash and everything, I went on and got her a little mess of our potatoes that we have drying and some of those onions. Now, I'm not sure if they're going to have any of the potatoes tonight, but I am pretty sure she is going to have some of those onions because she has just raved over how good they are. Next year, we'll try to do better with them. But anyway, tonight, we are going to do something with this squash. I have 6, I can't count tonight, but I have 6 squash that are just lovely. So we're going to do a small squash casserole. Now, I found a recipe the other day, and it called for 4.5 pounds of squash. I don't think I have 4.5 pounds, and I don't know that we really want a 4.5 pound squash casserole. So we're going to do what we have. I'm going to find that recipe and get everything in order. But first, I have just come in for the afternoon. It's a little after 4. I have no idea what kind of protein we're going to have. I think I have some venison ground thawed in the refrigerator, so I'll try to figure out something to go along with that. But I know we're going to have the squash casserole. Not sure what else. But I do know that I am hot and sticky and I feel yucky. So I'm going to go and probably change clothes and wipe off and at least get a little bit cooler. And then we're going to start on our squash casserole. Quick little tidbit before I go change. I was looking for my recipe and I was looking in my yellow Bell's Best that I introduced y'all to in our last video or the video before. They all run together. And as I was flipping through, I found this. This is a picture of my daddy on the gator shortly after they bought it. And this was their Christmas card in 2009. Now, my dad passed away in 2010. So this was the Christmas card before he passed away. I can remember taking this around to his doctors in Jackson. He had cancer, and we made sure the lab ladies and the front desk ladies and his oncologist and everybody in there that meant so much to us, we made sure they got one of these cards. But this is my favorite picture of my daddy. Anyway, memory lane, right? Now, as like that recipe was not in that cookbook, so I'm glad I looked before I started anything. Now, I did find the recipe I wanted, and it was in this cookbook. This is Cooking Down Memory Lane, A Taste of the South. And this was published by the Ladies of Macedonia Revival Center in Philadelphia, Mississippi. Now, this is an old cookbook, and I have been wanting to get my hands on it for years. I had one, and I gifted it to my aunt. Now, if you don't know already, I love cookbooks, and cookbooks with stories are even better. So, as I was saying, I gifted my aunt that cookbook, and when she passed away, I was supposed to get it back, but it just didn't work out. And that's okay, because this one kind of means more. So when my mom's sister passed away earlier this year, no, I'm sorry, she passed away the end of December, and we had her services the first of the year. I knew she had this cookbook. So I had told her that I would like to have it, and I also told her son. So the morning that she passed, her son told me, go ahead and get the cookbook. So I knew exactly where it was. I had found it in her stack of cookbooks that I adored going through. And so I got this cookbook. Well, I did not know all the treasures I would find in this cookbook. The recipe that we're going to do tonight is in this cookbook, but can you see that? She had stuck recipes and things in here that she wanted to try. And some of the stuff I can't read, but anyway, she has things written, and I probably could read it if I put on my glasses. But she had several things in this cookbook, and I'm trying to find one in particular that I will treasure. Well, let me just go right back here. So this is her. It's falling apart because it was used so much. But this is her handwriting. And this is her mac and cheese sauce. So anyway, this is going to be a cookbook that I treasure for a long, long time. And hopefully someone, well, would you look at there? Okay, her handwriting again. And this recipe right here is for squash casserole. So I believe we are going to do her recipe. So Aunt Dean's squash casserole, we're going to do from her handwritten recipe. this afternoon. So instead of just dirtying up yet more clothes, I went and threw on my apron. That way I don't have yet another something to wash. Well, I'll say I wash. Clarence usually, bless his heart, does the majority of the clothes washing. Pat on the back to him for that too. So he is a good help around the house, I have to say. Even though usually I have a crazy kitchen, I think I will always have piles. I will always have some clutter. Those are clean. It's just I don't have room for them. So we got to do a declutter in my cabinet so I can have some room. We're going to start by chopping up our squash, and we're going to go ahead and stew that down. I am probably going to go ahead and do the onion in there as well, strictly because I want it really tender. Even though this will have to bake, I think I'm going to do my onions and my squash together. So let's get started chopping some squash. And I think I'm going to do meatloaf to go along with this tonight. Probably aspiring to do a little too much, but I don't do meatloaf enough, and Clarence loves it. So let me check my venison to see if it's thawed. Come on. It is perfectly unthawed, or perfectly thawed. Unthawed is a thing we say here in the South. I don't know. Unthawed. So if you're, anyway, it's thawed. I have a headache this afternoon. Okay, so we have our ground venison ready to go. We are going to chop our squash. Let me get all my stuff back together in my head and get started. Okay, I have my meatloaf. My squash is still stewing on the stove, but my meatloaf is in the pan. I did a 9x5, 8x5, something like that. It's a loaf pan. It's a loaf pan. Let me go over how easy this is to put together. I don't know why I don't do it more often, because it's not hard at all. So a pound of ground beef. My dog sees something out the window that's about to murder me. Go figure. A quarter cup of chopped onion, a half a teaspoon of pepper, 1 egg, a half a cup of milk, a teaspoon of salt, a cup of breadcrumbs, 4 tablespoons of ketchup. You mix all of that together and put it in your loaf pan. Your sauce is 4 tablespoons of vinegar, 4 tablespoons of brown sugar, it calls for a quarter cup of onion, but I don't put that. A half a cup of ketchup and 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. You put that in a saucepan and heat until the sugar is melted. Then you pour it over the meatloaf. Bake at 350 degrees for an hour. That's it. Easy, 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 easy. All right, so our meatloaf is ready to go in the oven. Our squash is going to have to cook for 40 minutes, and I still have cinnamon rolls in the oven on essentially a rise. They're pretty much finished, and I need to get them out and either bake them or put them in the refrigerator. So I'm hot. Our squash is really, really tender, so it's not going to take long for it to stew up. And once it stews, I don't think it's going to be very difficult to put together our casserole. While I'm going over recipes, I will go over that recipe with you. All right, so we have, it calls for 2 cups of cooked squash, drained and mashed. 2 eggs beaten, tiny print, 3/4 cup of mayonnaise, 1 cup of grated sharp cheddar cheese, It calls for a tablespoon of dry minced onion, but I put onion in with our squash, so we're going to omit that. A half a stick of margarine. I have butter. A teaspoon of salt, a teaspoon of pepper, and a half a cup of crushed Ritz cracker crumbs. We're going to mix all ingredients together except the crackers. Place in a medium casserole dish that has been sprayed with cooking spray. Top with the cracker crumbs and bake at 400 degrees for 40 minutes. So we're going to bake our squash and our meatloaf together. The meatloaf bakes at 350 for an hour. This does 400 for 40 minutes. So we're just going to bake the meatloaf with this. It's going to be fun. So let me check my squash, see if they're tender, ready to mash, and we can get this rolling. Okay, our squash and onions are tender. So we are going to beat 2 eggs in a small bowl. And I'm just going to mix everything in our pot because there is no reason to dirty up yet another bowl because I already have to load the dishwasher. Never ending saga. All right, so we've got our 2 eggs here in a small bowl. Probably should rearrange y'all so you can see what I'm doing, huh? Let's do that. Okay, weird angle, but this is what we got to work with. My phone is on charge, so I gotta be close to a plug-in. All right, so here we go with half a stick of butter, and this is still very warm, so don't do this at home, but I'm gonna cut our butter up just in pats to help it melt better. All right, half a stick of melted butter. We have 2 eggs that I have beaten. I'm going to wait on that because this is so hot. I don't really want to scramble my eggs. I've drained out the liquid and then I set it back on the eye so any residual liquid can evaporate. We're going to do 3/4 cup of mayo. And I'm just going to kind of eyeball this. Okay. Oh, sorry, I know that was loud. Okay. Now we're going to do a cup of shredded cheddar cheese. We're going to do about a cup. If I get more than a cup, will the cheese police come? No, they will not. You do what you need to do. All right. We've got to season this. So, salt, pepper. All right. My crumbs go last. Onion is in there, so we are ready for the eggs. So I think we're okay. Beat, 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 beat. And this is just going to be for bonding. Okay. Let's see if we can get this stirred up. It's a little juicy, so I hope it kind of comes together as we cook it. I still have cinnamon rolls in my oven. It's always something. But I got to get them out. Because I got to get this. This oven should have already been preheated. Will that fit? I don't know if that'll fit. Let's get a different one. Oh. Let's get our little cast iron pan. We're going to sit it right here. And we're going to spray this. It says we need to spray it so it won't stick. All right. And here we go. Perfect. Now it says a half a cup of Ritz crackers. Who wants a half a cup of Ritz crackers? We're going to do a sleeve because I think it would taste better. Let me set that off to the side and let me get our Ritz crackers. All the way over to the pantry, I was praying that we had Ritz crackers. We go through spells where we eat Ritz crackers all the time, and then we don't get them. And so I didn't know if I had any in the pantry, and that was one of those things that I had not checked. So let me set this over here, and we're just gonna crumble these. We're gonna see how it goes, if we need more or less. I like a good cracker crumb topping. So, we'll see. This reminds me a little bit of the cabbage casserole that we did, the Brenda Gant recipe. Similar to that. And the mayonnaise, the onions, the cheese. So, we will see. Let me get that on there and then I can just spread it out. Perfect. I love this little cast iron pan. I got it from Pampered Chef. I think it was on clearance because I don't know if they have this anymore, but anyway, all right, 400 degrees for 40 minutes. Yes, I ate that last cracker. All right, let me do something with these cinnamon rolls. All right, here is supper. We are going to try our squash casserole. Our meatloaf looks great, and I just cut up a tomato. Here is my plate. And that was supper. So easy, so good. We will definitely put that on our rotation as we are getting fresh squash out of the garden. We will definitely enjoy it all summer long. I appreciate each and every one of you for getting on and watching, hanging out. If you would, hit that like and subscribe button, that notification bell. That'll tell you when we're going to put out a video next time. So thank you all so very much. And until next time, I'll see you later.